Mm. Okay, today we will discuss about ActiveMQ and with some hands-on examples. Okay, before we discuss the architecture, first discuss about what actually the ActiveMQ. ActiveMQ, as the name suggests, it is a open source message broker that is developed written in Java only. ActiveMQ stands for Active Messaging Queue. It is a queue that provides communication asynchronously. It is, you can say it is a JMS, means Java Messaging Services. Means it is a specification that allows development of message-based system. I told you, right, it acts as a messaging broker, which means it sits between applications and allows the clients to communicate in a synchronous and reliable way. So you see that the diagram, Richard, all this is the basic architecture. Means ActiveMQ consists of three parts. One is the producer. If you look at this, this is called a producer, and the consumers. And between we have two different types of storing message. One is queue, one is topic based. How this works, we will see step by step. This producer, in the sense, it is one of the JMS client, mean is the client or the end user who is sending, who wants to send the message asynchronously. Means this is a client, and another also is end user. It is a, again, this is also a client or different client, or it is a server. And if this consumer wants to receive the message from the producer, they have to communicate using with the help of JMS topic or queue. How this works is whenever this JMS producer sends some message, he don't want to wait for the consumer to receive that. It is the JMS responsible to send that message to this consumer. But how you identify which consumer receives this particular producer message? There you have to specify the name of the queue or the topic. If you are sending a message to a particular destination, right, from the source itself, right, from the source, when you are sending, what message you are sending is not matter, but to whom you are sending is the matter. It is something like, if you send a post to a person, if you send an email to a person, how you ensure that you have to give the right address or email address so that it delivers to that person. The person is there, if he is there on time, he will pick that. Later, if you have an inbox, right, then person has an inbox, that all the messages will be stored there, which means one name should be there, one identification should be there while sending the message. So while sending the message, the producer has to mention the name of the key or the name of the topic to which you are sending, and the other end, the consumer also have to listen that incoming message from the same queue name. So this guy has to associate with this, whoever is sending and who wants to receive that. Otherwise, the consumer doesn't know from which queue name I have to consume the messages. Similarly, one producer can send different number of messages with using different queue names. You can have more consumers. Each consumer is associated with the topic name. Whichever the topic the consumer is attached to, means listening, then that corresponding message will be received by that consumer. Okay. Okay. Just before monitoring all these things, before go to UI, let's understand that, right, Apache MQ. It is very important to understand this architecture and the building blocks. Right. As told you, these messages are produced by producers, and the another person who is receiving is called a consumer. Now, this If you see this, the type of communication messages, there are two types of communication. One is point to point. What is point to point? In this type of communication, the broker send message to only one consumer, and the other consumers will wait until they get the message from that broker. No consumer will get the same message. That is called as a point-to-point communication. It is something like if you send an email to one person, there are no consumers, the broker will hold the message till it gets a consumer. This type of communication is also called as a queue-based communication, where the producer send the message to a queue and only one consumer gets one message from that queue. For example, if there are more than one consumer, they might get the next message, but they won't get the same message as the other consumer. Which means that if the queue has configured with multiple consumers, what happens then? If you send a message to a queue, then this queue, the consumer will receive that message. But if you send another message, another consumer will get the next message, but he will not get the message which is received by another first consumer. That is called as a point-to-point communication or point-to-point messaging. Another thing is publish and subscribe. This is second type of communication. In this communication mode, the broker send same copy of messages to all the active consumers. Which means, see here, using this, if you have a message here, this it is publish and subscribes, as we are talking about. Publish and subscribe means this producer publish the message to the messaging broker, and the messaging broker will send the same copy across all the consumer who write. If we have more than one consumer configured to this message broker, all the consumer receives the same copy who has subscribed to a particular topic. This model supports one-way communication where no verification of transmitted data is expected. So simple difference. Point to point is one-to-one, one message to one consumer, and publish subscribe is one message to multiple consumers. It is something like one to many, one to one mapping. Okay, now this is all about the components of ActiveMQ architecture. Now to start working with this, what we need exactly is we have to download Apache ActiveMQ from the internet. This look like this. Let me show. I have already downloaded one for you. Before we go there, see ActiveMQ. If you download this, you could see this Apache ActiveMQ folder. Okay, this you can download any version of the latest version is 5.18.x version is there. However, I am going with that 5.17.2. And if we have this, if you open this, you could see all this configuration where you can configure the message type and number of message per consumer, so on, so on, and properties. And inside the bin folder, you have the actual two folders. One is Windows 32. If you want to run your ActiveMQ in Windows 32 machine, you can open this. Another is Windows 64. Now my operating system is Windows 64. Just start this. Okay, just type CMD. Okay, it will open a command prompt, and it will ask you to give a command to run the ActiveMQ. This is ActiveMQ. Just type ActiveMQ.bat. Run that. It will look for the all the JDK because it takes the support of JDK only. Now the default and username password for this ActiveMQ is admin. And here we have two different types of protocols. One is TCP and another is HTTP. Okay, TCP is a transmission control protocol, which means then we cannot see that when we are sending a message with the help of this protocol, the message will reach to that ActiveMQ internally, and the consumer also connect to this ActiveMQ and listen on the particular topic. Okay, now let's take this. Okay, go to that local host. There is see this one. Okay, take this. REST APIs are available in this URL. Okay, just copy this one. See, this is admin which I have already entered. Now you could see that home page. What do you want to text this? Just click on manage ActiveMQ broker, which means where we could see all options available to the ActiveMQ. This is queues, topic and subscriber connections, network, schedule and send. See, now here is the queues are there. Now right now I have one queue already created. Okay, now let's delete this. Right now you don't have any queues here. If you have created topics here, then the topics will be listed here. And any messages, if you want to send it here for testing purpose, right, then you can send this, right? Elements instead of connecting or sending from the application, you can do a test it here also. That we see later. Now you see that I don't have any queues created. Now you no need to create the queues manually here. Application itself will help you to create these queues for you. If you want to create the queues here, you can create queues. It doesn't matter that you can go ahead with that. Queue name is, let's write testing queue like that. Create this. It will come here. Now you see the number of pending messages, number of consumers, messaging queues, messaging dequeues. What are all these options? If you send any messages to this particular queue name is testing, then it says the number of messages is pending, which means no one have received this message. And the number of consumers, how many consumers you have configured? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It shows the list. And message encoded and message decoded is once you read successfully, then it will come. Now let's go back to this and integrate this application software with our application using SpringBoot. To configure this ActiveMQ to our SpringBoot application, let's have that dependency. Every software, any external software need a dependency to the corresponding one. So it is ActiveMQ, we have this, then we have a dependency called ActiveMQ. Let me show that. Say there is a dependency called SpringBoot starter ActiveMQ. The moment it configure this dependency, it downloads all the jars related to the ActiveMQ. You see this one? What is required? This one? ActiveMQ broker and ActiveMQ client, OpenWire, all these jar files, dependent related jar files will be downloaded and available to the class path so that we can work on this thing. The first step, that is the next step is you have to configure the JMS configuration. That is a configuration. As we discussed in the previous session, the configuration annotation is used if your class having any annotation based configurations, right? Or your class is treated as any configuration, then you have to mark this annotation as configuration. And then enable JMS means you are taking a support of JMS. So then you have to say enable JMS. Then you have to create a bin. What bin is that? Default JMS listener container factory. Means what is this listener container factory? It has to create a factory to listen to all the JMS messages that we are sending to that. Okay, it has to create a bin for us. As we can ask that if you have a jars download, it will give support. No, it will not. What factory we are creating, the container factory, we have to create a bin and say that it has to be loaded in the Spring container so that it will be available for us later users. So this is how you can send that. Now, using this JMS listener content factory, we have to communicate, we have to send the messages from producer to the consumer. Then the broker will sit between that and help us to send this. Okay. Now, who do that one? How I can send message from the producer to the broker? Let's have a controller class. Now here, what I'm doing, I'm publishing the message here, some message. Okay, I will explain you later. Now here, I'm sending message, convert and send, and I'm creating the queue name. If you could see this one, convert and send, what it is taking this. Okay, how different methods are there? Say convert destination and object is message, send the given object to the specified destination and converting the object to the JMS message with the configured message converter. As you see this, it is taking two parameters. The first parameter is the destination to send this message to whom you are sending the message. Okay, and what is the message you are sending is the object, or what can be any type of object, employee type, simple POSO, or it can be any student, etc., etc., or simple JSON object, whatever it may be. You have to send these two parameters. Here one more is there, different methods are there. You can go with that corresponding method and go ahead. Right now I'm taking simple JMS queue name, and the message is the one which I am posting from the postman. Okay, then once it's a convert and send, what happens then? This guy send the message to, see, there is a method send and the send, right? Then it get this message reach to the destination of the JMS. Okay, it is all the inside stuff that you don't need to worry about these things. As we have a JMS template, however we have a Spring Data JPA, right? This JMS template is the one which will extend this JMS destination and implement JMS operations, like how our JPA repository implements a JPA CRUD methods, JPA CRUD repository operations. The same way JMS also how this operations, what we are performing on that. So using JMS templates, we can utilize all these methods available in this class. Now with the JMS template, I am sending this message. Once you send the message, then first it checks in the queue, in the message broker, is there a queue already created here? What is the queue name? Is JMS queue. If it is not created, then it will create a queue for the first time. If it is not available, every time it won't be, and place the message, sit the message in that queue. Then until you receive the message, the other end, this message will stay in that queue only. It will not be deleted unless you go and delete it manually. Then how the consumer will receive this message, how the consumer consume this message is, you have to configure the system bus. It is a Spring component, simple Spring component. So here you have to specify the JMS listener. I told you, right? If someone has to listen this JMS, means someone is sending the message as a destination to some destination. So whoever here we have sent the message to this destination. This guy is configured to listen to this particular topic. The destination name is JMS queue. Then the message what we have sent, the system message, you have to send as a parameter. Then you can convert it according to your format. Okay, right now what I'm doing, once I post the message, I'm just creating a record, employee recorded here. Okay, I will explain it later and clearly, no worry. So he receive that message and say message received. Then after that, once the message is successfully received, means if this guy is called successfully, then it go back to the message, and it's a pending message will be decrement. Initially it will be 1, 2 like that. Then if we keep reading that messages, it will be degrade the count as 0 again. After all, successful reading. Now we are fine with the configuration. Let's start with running the application. Now we'll say run as SpringBoot. First, let's see that employee CRUD operations at first. Let me open my SQL. In here, I have already created a table called employee. Now I have a records this many, 6461 is the last record that I have created. Now let's start with the first operation. What is that? First, we are trying to get the list of all the employees, right? Let's see now. I'm getting list of all the employees as we discussed in the previous video, right? So these are all the endpoints that we have implemented. Now to get the list of employees, what we are doing, we just calling JPA find all method, and then I am returning that list of employees. Okay. Then what is the next method is post. Post is nothing but create of employees. So what it is, the structure it is expecting, what the request body it is expecting, employee details. See, here are the employee details. You have to send these exactly as is employee ID. However, you have define this attribute in your post job, it has to match while sending that, otherwise that value will go null. Make sure that you have to keep in mind those things, as most of them are feeling difficulty, facing issues, even though they are sending that message properly and keywords they are reading as employee ID, but however they give employee underscore ID instead of ID, they put ID something, first name, last name also. Sometimes they give underscore for last name, and mobile and email ID is some mostly common mistakes. Instead of email address, they give email ID. If they have email ID, they might be giving email address. So how to cross check that? Are you sending the right parameters? Are you sending the values using right case? Now, just copy this one. Now this is the get HTTP method. Now to create a record, you have to post it. Okay, before go to the post, let's see now. For get request, what is the HTTP status code? They will ask in the interview. That for get, the HTTP success code is 200. Okay. Now for post, it will be 201, which means the record is created. We are posting a record. We are posting a data, which means it is expecting to create the record. Now change the method to HTTP post. This URL remains same as we see that API. Okay. Now I change employee ID to 6768. This already there. Now okay. Now I have given all the details. Now what to do this? This data has to go and sit in the database. Now we see 6468 is not there. Now we are sending 64688. Now what we're doing with the help of controller, I'm directly calling this create method, and which in turns calling the JPA save method. Here we are not sending messages to the message broker. Let's see the first basic operations. Now you share this. You see this one, employee added successfully. You have posted that. You go back and see the employee added successfully. What is the next method? Now we have performed this update employee. To update employee, sorry, this get by ID. First go with that API. Now to get the record by ID, so this is the URL that need to build that, and you have to pass the employee ID. So make sure here the interview question will ask that what is this path variable and the path param is there. Difference between path param and path variable. If you look at this, there is a path param also there. Simple. This is simple to understand, simple differences that most of them are not giving the right answer here. Path variable is used to capture the path param, which means this is the path, and path param is used to capture the values from the query params. What are the query params is, if you look at this params, right, these we call it as a query params. Now let's see that one also one by one. Okay, now you are getting the data, so change the method to get and select what is the syntax. API employee slash employee ID. Now you don't need to give like this employee ID like that, because you are expecting the path variable, not the param. Okay, you can directly give employee ID directly, then click on the hit. Now this time you are not sending anything, just click done. Now see, you are getting that data. Again the same way you change that ID, see according to the ID, then you will get the relevant employee data. Now let's come back to this path variable. Now this time what I do, I copy this one. I'm trying to send it as a part of param. Employee ID equals to 6460. Now I'm removing it here. It's not added. Employee colon. But you see, this will not success. You could see the exception. One second. Let me restart this. This is still path variable. Okay, let's see now how this works. Okay, now what we do, I go here and change a path param. Sorry. Employee by ID. So say missing attributes, then you have to specify here this as employee ID, because this is not required here now, because you are sending that as a part of path param. Now switch there and try 6463. See, now you see there is already employee controller being with this employee slash get. See, this is again duplicate this already there. Now this try employee ID 6468. See what it is saying, not found. Employee underscore employee ID 6468. It is saying the data request is versus dot found employee slash. Sorry, this I typed some. Okay, now you could say 6468. So here, what is the difference between path param is to get the query param. Here you are sending this as a part of query param. What is query param is it is separated with the question marks. If you have multiple query params, then at the rate and employee name equals to something so on. So on, it will be separated with the at the rate. So the difference is the path param is used to get the query params, and path variable is used to get the values and from the URL. Now, if I try to do this something employee slash 6463, you see that method not allowed. What I say, you are trying to say get, and you are sending the variable as a path variable. Path variable will not be allowed here. So that is the difference between path variable and the path param. Now let's go back and change this to our structure previous one. Now this is the path variable and path param differences. Okay, let's say put mapping. As we discussed, put mapping is used to update the existing record. What is that existing record? As employee details. Again, same format. We have to send this same. Now let's go back to this same record and say change the method to put. And what is this? API structure is this. Now I am changing this Pawan Kumar to some email ID to something. Okay, I'm changing the last digit mobile number is all triple lines. Now click on this. Okay, put not supported. What is the syntax? Okay, sorry, we are sending by employee ID 6468. Okay, employee updated successfully. Now go back to this and see this one. See this one, mobile number got changed. This is how we can send. Similarly, to delete also you have to send the ideas. For example, to delete that, you no need to change anything. The syntax remains same. Just say delete and send. See, record deleted. Go back and see this one. 6468 got deleted. So this is how you can perform CRUD operations. Now come back to the actual JMS publish. Now this JMS, I'm sending the message as a source and employee details. Source is nothing but the sum key. You can directly send the details, but the structure I'm sending this as like that. Now this has to be copied like and go back to our postman API slash and publish. It is the you are posting that message. So source is I am saying EMP employee details, and inside that if you look at this is in the system message source is the keyword and another value is employee details. If you look at this, this is the employee details. This employee details contains again this data. Now I'm sending this message and leaving. I don't want to wait for the response. What discuss? I just say publish. Now posting this message. Message published successfully. You see this one? Say this record is already there. However, not it is overridden. Just okay, change to something 6468. Okay, message already. Say number of consumers it is created one. Okay, let's delete this one. I have sent incorrect message. Okay, 6468. Say Pawan Kumar. Okay, now let's see. I have published this message. The moment you see this one, the message has come here. See, JMSK message. It is already there pending. No, it is immediately read it then. It read and insert into this record in the database. You see this Pawan Kumar has already inserted. So now let's delete this record. Okay, now I have deleted that. Now the message is not there. Now you see that during debug, we will see this clearly. Okay, stop this and run the project in the debug mode. Then you will have a clear idea what's happening when this. Okay, in the message consumer, we have a breakpoint. Okay, and in the service MPL, it's not needed. Okay, it is already there. And now create a record here. Okay, now I will be sending this message post. See, the debug has come to the publish. See, now it is convert and publish. Until then, you don't see anything here. Now I will delete this. Okay. Now what happens here? Once you go here and publish and send, it checks is journey JMSQ is there. Now if it is not there, this guy gets created. So the moment it publish and send, it create a queue for us. Okay. Now, okay, number of consumers is 5 because I have created the configuration with number of consumers is 5 minimum 5 and depend on it, right? If the message is too many, if you send too many messages, then it will automatically scale up from 5 6 7 8 9 10 up to 10 maximum number of queues. And the messages queued is 1, message dequeued is 1. Now let's see after this consuming that what that. Now this guy has come here now, which means this listener is listening this for this message. See this JMS queue having the message, it's already read. Okay. Okay, open this JMS queue. Okay, view consumers. Could see all these number of consumers. Then you can see this NQs is 1, DQs dispatched 1, and session ID. And if you go here and see the message is stored it here. Five queues are created. Let's see where is this. Okay, message received. This guy is already received the message. Someone Here somewhere, sorry, it's not showing the message count. Okay, I will show you that in meanwhile. Let's wait. So once you publish that message, what I'm doing with this data, I'm creating a record. What I'm doing is I'm calling my employee service create record. So this guy will take the responsibility to create your record. The moment I say save, right? This Pawan Kumar is not there in the database. Now you see this is not there. The moment this get executed, it create a record. Thus Pawan Kumar is created, which means here you are not waiting for the server response. You just publishing the messages, and this message will be stored in the queue and depend number of queues it here. All these queues are responsible. Consumers are responsible to read that. How many number of consumers are there? If you make it as one consumer and say this only maximum, right? One consumer concurrency. And say run as SpringBoot, then you could see the only one consumer is created. Now delete this record again. Okay, see now number of consumers it is changed to 1. Now again send the same message from the UI and post that, say this guy is consumed already. Same message received and the record also gets created 6468. Now go back here. See number of messages and queue. Now we have sent 2 messages right till now. So 2 messages are read already. There are no pending messages. If you have any pending messages, then you could see this message ID here. Okay, to see this, I got to know this. To see this message here, I need to have one configuration to see that message ID, correlation ID, persistent order, right? To browse all these messages. That's why we are not able to. Otherwise, in this user interface, we still see that messages. Also, all the messages that we have send it here will be displayed as a part of this one. Now we are not able to see because of the configuration is not made for this to see. Queue topics send to active subscribe message broker. Okay, no worry. Then I have not made a configuration to see that. So we have one more configuration where we can see all the send messages from here. You can see in this user interface under the queues under topic name. If you click this one, obviously it has to be displayed under here, and then you can see what message you have sent it as a part of your request. This message will be